The story begins with knights surrounding the bandits, preparing to attack. The leader of the bandits then turns to an ordinary-looking boy standing behind the knights and asks if he was the one who found them and what kind of sorcery he used to track them to this place. The boy replies with a single word: comprehension. A few days earlier, before the current events took place, the protagonist wakes up in an unfamiliar place, a strange, glowing jungle. As he stands and looks around his surroundings, he quickly realizes he has been transported to another world. Surprisingly, he adapts to the situation with little hesitation and decides to find a way out of the jungle. As he wonders how to proceed, he senses something behind him. A bear is approaching. Terrified at seeing the creature so close, he panics, wondering what he should do. Should he run or play dead, as fighting it is clearly not an option? Desperately trying to decide what to do, he ends up doing the most ridiculous thing imaginable. He greets the bear with a nervous bonjour. Unsurprisingly, the bear roars in response. But before it can attack, a slime-like creature suddenly leaps onto the bear and completely absorbs it. Shocked by what he's witnessing, he stares in disbelief, and from the looks of it, he believes the creature to be some kind of slime. Watching the bear dissolve completely inside it disgusts him so much that he starts vomiting. Just then, he notices the slime launching itself at him. Fortunately, he manages to dodge just in time. The slime flies past him and instantly melts through a tree behind him. Utterly shaken and confused, he wonders what kind of creature could dissolve a bear without leaving a trace. With questions flooding his mind, he forces himself to calm down and comprehend the situation. Later, as he wanders through the jungle searching for a way out, he notices the glowing isn't everywhere, and some parts of the forest look more normal, which gives him some hope. But after encountering the slime, even worse things happen to him. Like one time he came across a nest of terrifying spiders, which he fortunately survived by using a wooden stick to destroy their nest, and even managed to gather some fruit. But that wasn't the end of it, as shortly after that, he spots what looks like villagers, but they turn out to be savage brutes carrying chunks of human flesh. Thus, he didn't dare approach and quietly slipped away before they could notice him. But it wasn't all bad, as he eventually found a real road, and the sight makes him so happy he tears up. He even carves a commemorative message into a tree, but his joy grows even more when, following the road, he finally arrives at the outskirts of a town. From where he is standing, he can clearly see a castle at the center of the town, which he believes is a classic sight straight out of a fantasy story. He has been wandering alone for so long that he no longer cares what kind of people live here and just wants to meet someone. So he approaches the people guarding the town gates, who appear to be guards in armor, and calls out to them. They respond by raising their spears and speaking in an unfamiliar language. Without warning, they restrain him and throw him straight into a jail cell. This happens so quickly that he is left stunned, and he even tries to tell the guard that he came here looking for protection, but not this kind of protection. However, it appears they don't understand him, nor does he understand them, as they speak in a language unfamiliar to him, which frustrates him even more. Since nothing can be done at this point, he decides to sleep for now, all while thinking about how terrible this journey has been. For starters, he was attacked by a bear out of nowhere, then ambushed by a slime. And just when he thought he had found people who could help him, he gets thrown straight into jail. After these misfortunes pile up one after another, he believes there's nothing worse that can happen. But later, he suddenly wakes up in pain, and as he opens his eyes, he sees a female knight standing in front of him, holding a sword. Surprised, he wonders who she is, but judging by the sword, he assumes she's the one who hit him. She then says something to another knight, but again he doesn't understand the language. After speaking with the other knights, she turns to him and smiles. Seeing this, he wonders if she can understand him, but instead, she strikes him in the stomach with her sheathed sword. As he writhes in pain, she swiftly stuffs him into a sack, which makes him really annoyed, and he calls her a monstrous gorilla while she carries the sack somewhere. A few moments later, he can feel her entering a building, judging by how quiet it has become. Terrified of what's to come, he wonders what the hell is going on and where she's taking him. When the rope tying the sack is finally loosened, he quickly pokes his head out and finds himself inside a church, where another woman is present. The knight then calls the other woman Maya, and tells her that he seems to be awake now. Irritated, he calls the knight a gorilla, only to suddenly realize he can now understand their language. The woman named Maya reassures him. explaining that she's the sister of this place and that they used a possession spell on him. She explains it's a simple spell that allows someone to understand their common tongue by letting a spirit temporarily possess them. Hearing this, the protagonist finds it very similar to Doraemon's translator Jelly. When Maya asks him what he's talking about, he brushes it off and thanks her. Unlike her kind treatment, the knight's brute force approach deeply troubled him. Hearing this, Maya calls the knight Ilias and gives her a stern look, leaving her stunned. He then tells Maya, with a troubled expression, that there are still many things he doesn't understand, and he doubts she'll believe him. But Maya replies that he can tell her everything. It's all right, because she's very good at discerning lies. He finds that really cool, and thinks how convenient such an ability would be. Moved, he asks if he can hug her, to which she responds with a laugh, telling him not to tease an old lady. While the two share this light moment, Ilias cuts in, asking if they can just get started already. Setting that aside, he thinks that the ability to discern lies would have made his life so much easier. Moving on, he informs them that he actually comes from another world and gives his name, though for some reason it isn't shown. Side note, in the entire story, the protagonist's name is never revealed, so instead of constantly calling him the protagonist, I decided to refer to him as Shujinku, which means protagonist in Japanese. Although it's hard to believe, Maya is certain that Shujinku isn't lying. He continues, explaining how difficult it was when he first arrived. Right away he was attacked by a bear and a slime, and genuinely thought he was going to die. Hearing this, Maya grabs his shoulder and seriously asks if he really came from that Black Demon Lord's killer mountain. Confused, he asks what the hell that jumbled up name is, while Maya keeps questioning how he's even alive. She informs that this mountain is so dangerous that even dragons don't dare go near it. Shujinku is shocked to hear there are dragons in this world and quickly adds them to his must-see list. He then tells her it can't be that dangerous. After all, he just saw a bear there. Maya explains that the bear might have been drawn there because it ate rye fruit, which causes creatures to unconsciously wander into a slime nest. Ilias then informs him that the abundant fruit he brought with him is also rye fruit. A cold sweat runs down Shujinku's face as he realizes he ate some of it too. Maya laughs and tells him he just got lucky. His mana level is so low that the fruit's mind control effect barely worked on him. Hearing that, he wonders whether he should feel happy or sad. Speaking of mana, he realizes something odd. He hasn't seen any signs of mana overflow or magical crests on his body. When Maya asks what he's talking about, he replies that this is usually the part where the weak-looking guy actually turns out to be super powerful and secretly hiding his true abilities. Hearing this, Maya gives him a look of pity and says that's impossible for him, as it's her first time seeing someone with such a low mana level. It's so low she honestly feels bad for him. Frustrated, Shujinku thinks he didn't even get a transmigration bonus or anything. As far as he's concerned, his body is at the same level as a bug in this world. That's probably why the slime didn't take him seriously. But instead of being upset, he's actually glad. He believes that safety is more important than some overpowered fantasy. Setting that aside, Ilias says she's surprised he made it to the town at all without any equipment. Shujinku quickly responds that he did have equipment, an exquisite wooden stick he found, which also happened to be his trusted partner. Hearing this, Ilias remembers the stick she found with him and sheepishly apologizes, as she broke it and used it as firewood. When he learns this, he bursts into tears over the loss of his partner and mourns the fact that he now owns nothing. Trying to move the conversation on, Ilias tells him he should be thankful to the gods that he didn't run into any bandits in that mountain. They frequently show up there, and if he'd encountered them, he could have kissed his life goodbye. Learning this, he thanks God that he didn't approach them on the mountain. Hearing this, Ilias pauses, then asks if he really encountered them there. He replies, explaining that he found a cave on the mountain where he saw several grim-looking people, whose faces quite literally screamed bandits. Upon hearing this, she quickly grabs Shujinku by the collar and demands to know where he saw them. As she begins violently shaking him, asking again for their location, he tries to get her to stop. Maya quickly steps in, warning Ilias to let him go or she'll kill him if she keeps going. At this, Ilias releases him and bluntly apologizes. Irritated by her brute behavior, he mentally calls her a monstrous gorilla bitch, feeling this is the closest he's come to death since arriving in this world. Maya sighs and says to Ilias that even if he did see the cave, it's unlikely he remembers the exact location. However, Shujinku responds that he can manage, as he left a mark on a tree. Hearing this, they are so surprised that Maya asks if she can give him a hug, to which he replies that she can, but gently. On the other hand, with this new information, Ilias says she can't afford to stay still. She must quickly assemble a subjugation squad and tells him to lead the way. She then introduces herself as Ilias Ratzel, a knight of the Tai's kingdom who has been ordered to subjugate the mountain bandits. Later, at the mountain, 2 bandits are guarding the cave's entrance. As one begins to leave, the other asks if it's already time to switch shifts. The first bandit calls him stupid, saying he's just going to pee. With only the long-haired bandit remaining, he mutters that he's craving the body of a voluptuous woman. He complains that he doesn't enjoy only having his way with the merchants they ambush anymore. Just as he says this, a spear flies straight into his face, killing him instantly. The other knight quickly eliminates the bandit who went to pee, then alerts everyone that this one had used detection magic so the rest of the bandits will know they're coming. Hearing this, Shujinku is shocked that the bandits can use magic. However, Ilias declares that it's not a problem, as the cave doesn't seem to have a wide exit, so it should be easy to wipe them out in one sweep. Terrified by her casual tone, Shujinku thinks it's not surprising. After all, she did carry around a grown man like him. But it's not just her. The other knights are also incredibly impressive, with extraordinary speed. He concludes that most of them are probably gorillas too, just like Ilias. She then suggests they go in and warns him not to stray too far from her, to which all he can do is nod and reply with a hesitant yes. After entering the cave, he is left speechless upon seeing the knights swiftly slaughter the bandits. They are so overpowered that the bandits don't even stand a chance. Ilias commands the knights not to kill anyone who surrenders, but also not to hold back against those who try to escape. Following her orders, the knights move accordingly, sparing those who surrender and eliminating anyone who attempts to flee. Just then, a giant man steps out from a cave passage, and one of the bandits addresses him as their boss. Upon seeing the knights, the giant bandit trembles in fear before swinging his club at Ilias. However, she effortlessly stops the blow with her hand and asks if his massive body is just for show. As the giant bandit tries to pull his club back, Ilias crushes it with a simple clench of her hand. She then shifts into an attack stance and says that since dragging his giant body back would be troublesome, she'll judge his sins here and now. With those words, she slashes the giant bandit clean in half, without even drawing her sword. Shujinku and the other knights watch in awe, stunned by the elegance of her technique. Ilias then orders the knights to track down any bandits who may have escaped using magic detection and to bring back any survivors. With that, the mountain bandit subjugation comes to an end, and the knights cheer for their victory. Shujinku breathes a sigh of relief, and Ilias approaches him, saying everything has gone without a hitch. He responds sarcastically, claiming he might develop trauma from the experience. Surprised, she tells him that despite everything, he got to witness the knights' success firsthand. Shouldn't he be inspired by their passionate effort? Ignoring that, he brings up something he noticed during her fight and asks why she never actually drew her sword. The question makes her flustered, as she shyly explains that she simply doesn't want to stain her sword with the bandits' filthy blood. Hearing this, he asks if that's really the reason and says it might have just been his imagination, but it looked like she tried to draw her sword and it got stuck in the sheath. Hearing this, she freezes and begins trembling while slowly raising her sword, muttering that she just didn't want to. Seeing this, Shujinku panics and assures her it's okay, he must have misunderstood, and pleads with her to lower the sword. With that, the subjugation concludes smoothly and thankfully without any accidents. Not only that, the knights managed to capture 7 out of the 30 bandits involved, with the rest killed during the operation. Even better, it seems no bandits were able to escape. Right now, Shujinku is being carried back to town by Ilias, which makes him extremely uncomfortable. While he's gotten used to being carried, he doesn't like standing out so much. Setting that aside, one question continues to bother him. Why was he brought to this world in the first place? Some might think he was summoned to be a hero, but it's clear he isn't, as he didn't receive any special powers, and his body is completely ordinary. He wonders if it was the whim of a god, or maybe just a failed summoning ritual. Well, since he's here, he doesn't really care which it was. But he does wish he could have seen the summoner's shocked face. Putting that aside, he's still bitter that they summoned him into such a dangerous mountain in the first place. But now that he's here, He just wants to live a quiet life and doesn't care about defeating the demon lord or building a harem. So he begs whatever god might be listening to, just let him live safely and peacefully. Meanwhile, in a certain forest within the Tai's kingdom, several tents are set up. Inside one of them sits a man being addressed as boss by someone kneeling before him, reporting that Gidu and his group have been defeated, with some captured. Hearing this, the boss laughs and says he doesn't worry about those fools, as he knows for a fact they fear his wrath several times more than any mere knight's torture. This man is revealed to be the leader of the Mountain Bandit Alliance, Dakola. Later, in the Tai's kingdom's castle conference room, King Marito Tais praises Ilias for successfully completing her mission. She responds by thanking him for his kind words. The king then asks if she has gathered any information. Ilias timidly replies that they are currently interrogating the captured bandits but haven't uncovered any valuable leads yet, so she asks for more time. At that moment, a man raises his hand, whom King Marito addresses as Lord Leonar, and asks what he wishes to say. With permission, Leonar stands and acknowledges that Lady Ilias has produced excellent results in the bandit subjugation. However, he adds that, since she is a woman, she might not be capable of conducting proper torture. Ilias is visibly shocked by this comment, while Leonar continues, saying that if King Marito wishes, he would like his own squad to take over this important task. His statement causes murmurs to ripple through the room as everyone begins talking, while Ilias remains silent. Leonar then taps the table and apologizes for overstepping. He explains that Lady Ilias leads the elite Ragdo squad, but it only has 30 members who can move freely. In contrast, his own unit has 300 knights who can mobilize at a moment's notice, making the task easier for them. More importantly, he reminds the room that the enemy is the same group of bandits who have caused them trouble for a long time. Still, since Ilias was the one who captured them, he defers the decision to her and tells her to call on him if she needs help. Meanwhile, Shujinku eats his first meal in this world and is surprised by how good it tastes. As he enjoys the flavor, an old man, who appears to be a knight, asks him how it is and apologizes for only being able to offer leftovers from last night. The previous night, the knights held a party to celebrate the bandits' defeat. When Ilias offers Shujinku food, he apologizes, saying he'd rather get some sleep since he hasn't rested since yesterday. Hearing this, the old man quickly brings him clothes, shows him where to wash, and leads him to a place to sleep. After helping, the old man leaves, saying they'll meet again tomorrow. Shujinku finds the old man kind, like a gentle grandfather, completely different from that monstrous gorilla Ilias. He then asks for the old man's name, to which he informs that it's Karagyugjesta Domitrukovkan. Shocked by the mouthful of a name, Shujinku asks him to repeat it. The old man obliges, repeating his name just as bluntly. Still struggling to pronounce it, Shujinku gives up, and the old man kindly says it's fine to just call him Grandpa Kara. As Shujinku thanks him for understanding, Grandpa Kara asks if he has some time afterward. Since he replies that he does, he is later brought to Ilias, who apologizes for the trouble and asks for help coming up with some ideas. She explains that even though it's the perfect chance to round up the remaining bandits, their lips are shut tight. Hearing this, Shujinku asks if her team is still interrogating the bandits. She replies affirmatively and explains that capturing them was very difficult, as they were using some unknown method to communicate amongst themselves. This surprises him, as he thought it would be easy for her squad to catch those bandits. Ilias replies, shaking her head, saying that it's not that easy in reality. For example, she even sent out bait in the mountain, but it was to no avail, because bandits used detection magic to avoid any encounters with the knights and somehow plundered the bait without any trouble. Shujinku earlier learned that the detection magic is used to sense beings with mana within a certain radius. He thinks of it as a magical version of a thermal sensor and finds it incredibly convenient. He then suggests using the same magic to detect the bandits. However, Ilias explains that it's no use, as they scatter magic sealing stones whenever they flee. When he asks what a magic sealing stone is, she takes one out and places it on the table. For demonstration, she begins channeling magic, causing mana to swirl around her hand, but it all vanishes as soon as it comes into contact with the stone. Seeing this, Shujinku is astonished and believes it to be a literal fantasy killer item. Ilias then further explains that the stone's effect depends on its size, and the one she just used is so cheap even a kid could buy it with their allowance. Shujinku is stunned by how easy they are to obtain, and remarks that mages must be worthless here. Ilias asks if by mage he means a magic warrior, then clarifies that they can still use magic if they avoid the stones. However, when war breaks out, so many of these stones are used that they can cover the entire battlefield. Learning this, Shujinku feels disappointed, as it seems using magic to solve problems isn't a reliable option in this world. But then, a thought comes to his mind, and he asks her that since magic exists in this world, couldn't they use some kind of hypnotic spell to force confessions out of the bandits? Ilias replies that while such magic does exist, it's useless in this case, as it turned out that a small magic sealing stone is implanted in each bandit's head. She fears that trying to forcibly remove it could kill them. Shujinku is shocked by how thorough the enemy is, but then another idea comes to mind. So he asks Ilias if she'll let him handle the interrogation. With her permission, he later approaches the bandits to question them. The bandit in front of him asks who he is, to which Shujinku replies that he's the new interrogator. Hearing this, the bandit scoffs and says the Kingdom of Tai's standards must have dropped if they're sending beansprouts like him. Shujinku sighs, saying that it's not like brute strength is needed in interrogation, and adds that he doesn't like hurting people anyway. In response, the bandit calls him a coward and demands to be executed on the spot, saying he has nothing to say to someone like him. It turns out just as Shujinku expects. They're pretty stubborn. But aside from that, he notices many scars on the bandit's body, leading him to suspect this man has already been tortured before. Shujinku informs the bandit that it's likely they won't be able to avoid the death sentence. Hearing this, the bandit replies that he already knows and is simply waiting for them to get it over with. Shujinku then questions, if that's the case, why won't they open their mouths, even though their days are already numbered? He really doesn't understand their reasoning, as from what he knows, the relationship between bandits is more like that of business rivals. Not only that, but they would cut him off the moment he got captured, so it should be easier for him to spill everything. Yet they act as if something worse than death is waiting for them. Since the bandit isn't going to tell him anything, Shujinku asks the man to at least explain why he's keeping his mouth shut. But the bandit responds by asking what would even change if he told him. Shujinku answers that, at the very least, it would satisfy his curiosity. Hearing this, the bandit angrily stands up, while Shujinku adds that he won't be tortured if he just reveals the reason. He believes he's being reasonable. It's not like he's asking the bandit to sell out one of his own. He just wants to understand why someone would choose to stay silent and throw away the chance to die peacefully. But oh well, since he can't reveal that, it can't be helped. So he'll leave the rest to the knights and their hard work. Hearing this, the bandit replies that it doesn't matter if he dies, because that person can bring eternal fear to them, no matter where they are. Compared to that, torture means nothing, so he begs to be killed immediately. From the bandit's last words, Shujinku picks out two important parts: that person and eternal fear. With just those clues, he starts to grasp the situation and gets the gist of what's really going on. Later, he arrives at the church and tells Maya what he's learned. She's shocked when she hears him asking about magic that tampers with the souls of the dead. She quickly pulls him into her arms and asks Ilias what she has done to this poor boy, then says shame on her. Shocked by her reaction, Ilias quickly denies doing anything, and Shujinku explains that he thought she might know something about it, so he asked Ilias to bring him here. Maya responds, informing him that while a magic to call the souls of the dead does exist, it's forbidden. Upon hearing that, Shujinku asks if that kind of magic doesn't sound like something many people would desire. Maya immediately warns him not to say such things in front of others. Depending on the country, just expressing interest in that kind of magic could earn him a death sentence. Surprised, he asks if it's really that dangerous. Maya answers seriously, explaining that this magic only leads to the worst possible outcomes. She goes on to say that, in the past, people did use magic to bring others back to life, but without exception, they all became humanity's greatest enemy. They all turned into demon lords. Shujinku is stunned to learn that demon lords really exist in this world, and now that he knows every one of them came from this kind of resurrection magic, he understands why it was declared forbidden. Still, he believes the magic the bandits fear is something different. As Maya takes out some books, She adds that there is another type of magic called the Death Spirit spell. When Shujinku asks what that is, he takes the books from her, saying he'll carry them for her. She explains that this magic doesn't truly revive the dead. It forcibly drags the person's soul back into the land of the living, humiliating them by placing them in their rotting flesh. The caster then controls them like tamed monsters, or even uses them as sacrifices. It's a cruel and twisted form of magic, what she calls the lowest level of evil. Shujinku then asks if the revived retain their consciousness even in that state. Maya is a bit taken aback and remarks that he sure asks a lot of difficult questions. He replies that it's important in regard to the bandits, and that he isn't particularly curious about the spell itself, only about its horror. She then shares that she once clashed with a death spirit user. At the time, she and her comrade were forced to exterminate all the abominations that person had created. Most of them let out a deathly scream before vanishing, but one of them actually spoke. When she struck it down, it thanked her for freeing it. With this information, Shujinku gives a slight bow and thanks her for her help. As he leaves, Maya tells Ilias to keep a close watch on him, to which she agrees. Maya explains that she told her that because she believes Shujinku is too familiar with malice, and that there's something very dark inside him. When Ilias tries to object, Maya clarifies that she doesn't mean he's a bad person. It's just that he's a dangerous boy, one who could easily lose his way. Later, Shujinku comes to interrogate the bandits again, this time gathering all of them into one room, under the knight's protection. He then introduces himself as their new interrogator, and just as he's about to say his name, one of the bandits yells at him to shut up and tells him to just kill already. He responds, asking if they're truly that afraid of becoming victims of the death spirit spell. At this, the bandits visibly tremble, but try to act ignorant, pretending they don't understand what he's talking about. He's genuinely surprised by how easy it is to rattle them, and after clearing his throat, he continues. He tells them that after considering the situation, he has come up with a new proposal. One of the bandits asks if he's going to let them go, but Shujinku replies that he can't do that, but he can change how they'll be executed. As confusion spreads among them, he explains, if they confess, he will delay their execution until after the death spirit user is dealt with. When one of them asks what good that will do, Shujinku replies that at the very least, they'll get to die as humans. At those words, all of them begin to shudder, while he asks if they're ready to begin negotiations. He explains that they also stand to benefit from this, as if they confess and give up the information, they'll likely anger the mastermind, who is most certainly the death spirit user. That much is unavoidable. However, after confessing, they won't die immediately. They'll remain in their cells, where they'll receive daily meals and won't be tortured at all. They'll be confined until the mastermind is captured, and once that's done, he promises they'll meet their end as humans. Not only that, but during that time, they'll have a chance to reflect on their lives, on everything they've done up to now. Then one of the bandits yells out, asking if Shujinku really expects them to believe it. Shujinku responds saying they have to, because as long as the mastermind is alive, there's no merit in executing them. Instead, it would only result in the death spirit spellcaster gaining more pawns. Again, one of the bandits argues that even if they confess, they're going to die either way, so why should they do something so dangerous? Shujinku replies that he wonders about that too. He asks if they truly believe their current situation isn't already dangerous. Then, he lets them in on a secret. They actually found the bandits' hideout entirely by accident this time. But the bandits still wonder how the knights were able to sniff them out even now. What if the knights get lucky again and somehow obtain the mastermind's location from another source? Then corner him. What would the mastermind think, aside from someone having coughed up his whereabouts? But the question is who? Now that all of them are here, Shujinku asks who the mastermind will suspect among them. As the bandits stare at him in shock, Shujinku tells them to choose. Will they abandon the person they fear so much? Or will they die before the rest of their comrades? That is his proposal. He says that if anyone feels like confessing, he hopes they can squeeze out the courage to do so by tomorrow. Until then, he advises them to use all their time today to think carefully. After saying that, he leaves the room, telling them farewell. Ilias and Grandpa Kara, who have been in the room while he was talking to the bandits, give him a look that makes him uncomfortable. He tells them to stop looking at him like that. Grandpa Kara then tells him he has a real talent for becoming a crooked merchant. Shujinku replies that he'll pass, as he doesn't want a life full of grudges. Ilias then asks if he thinks the bandits will confess this time, to which he replies that they probably won't. As she is disappointed hearing this, Shujinku continues, saying that to make this actually work, there's something he needs to ask Grandpa Kara. He then tells Grandpa Kara to lend him an ear, but Ilias barges in too. As he explains what needs to be done, both of them twitch in shock. They quickly back away from him, with Grandpa Kara exclaiming what a thorough and shameless scoundrel Shujinku is, though he takes it as a compliment. He then pleads with Grandpa Kara to go along with him, calling it a cute little prank. With no other choice, Grandpa Kara sighs and agrees. Although Ilias dislikes the idea, she also has no choice, as it's for the people's sake. Later in the cell where the bandits are held, one of the bandits grows irritated that they've all been separated into different cells, as now he can't even discuss the situation with the others. Then, a horrible memory hits him as he recalls how their leader, Dakola, used the death spirit spell to turn people into the undead. Dakola had declared that this was the fate of anyone who betrayed him. Just imagining it sends a shiver down the bandit's spine, making him wonder what is he supposed to do. Just then, he overhears two knights talking about their shift change. One of them turns out to be Grandpa Kara, who asks the other knight if any of the bandits have confessed yet. The other knight replies that they haven't, as every single one of them has refused to talk. Hearing this, the bandit clenches his fist, thinking the knight to be a fool if he believes they'll open their mouths so easily. The knight then asks if they're really going to delay the execution, pointing out that the food they eat comes from the honest people's hard work. Grandpa Kara replies that it's not really a problem, since only 3 of them will have their execution delayed. As the others will be executed immediately, their share of the food will be given to the survivors, so they won't be a burden. Hearing this, the bandit becomes confused, and the knight also asks why only 3 of them will be kept alive. Grandpa Kara explains that even if all 7 confess, the information they provide will mostly be the same. So he believes that 3 of them should be enough, or at least that's what Shujinku said. Hearing this, the bandit quickly recalls that Shujinku never specifically stated the deal was for all of them. Then he remembers Dakola's words, that no matter who the traitor is, even if they're dead, he'll make sure they suffer. Panic takes over, and the bandit yells to the knight, saying he's willing to talk and demands they bring the new interrogator kid. Grandpa Kara bluntly responds, asking what's with him all of a sudden, and whether it can wait until tomorrow. Hearing this, the bandit grows irritated, telling the old man not to give him that crap, as he's ready to confess everything right now. In response, Grandpa Kara hands him a paper saying Shujinku is sleeping, so he can write down whatever he wants to confess for now. The bandit trembles in fear and confusion, unsure what to do. If any 3 of them confess, the remaining 4 will definitely face the worst outcome. He begins racking his brain, trying to figure out what to do. Reaching his breaking point, he decides to give in and write down as much valuable information as possible, anything he thinks Shujinku would want. As he pours out all the important leads, he yells in frustration. Later, Ilias informs Shujinku that out of the 7, 5 have confessed. She then hands him the papers containing the information they wrote. He reaches out to take it, commenting that it's good they were able to extract this much information from the bandits. As he tries to pull the paper from her hand, he notices Ilias is gripping it tightly. He asks her what's wrong, to which she responds by asking what kind of life he lived in his previous world. She explains that while he mentioned magic didn't exist there, he never told her anything else. She admits she's grateful for his help, but his actions are. Before she can finish, Shujinku asks if it violates the code of chivalry. Ilias pauses for a moment and then nods, saying that it does, as he used people's weaknesses to his advantage, a method she doesn't like. She believes people who can do that so easily are often cunning, possibly even criminals, or at least have connections to that kind of life. So she asks him if he is one. Before she can finish her sentence, Shujinku replies that he's just a normal guy who wants to live peacefully. Still, Ilias expresses her doubts, saying that no matter how she looks at it, she finds it hard to believe. Shujinku then begins making some tea, and explains that living peacefully means living an ordinary life, avoiding trouble and not causing it for others. Compared to this world, his original world has many ways to understand people. When one comes into contact with many individuals, there are bound to be both good and bad among them. So, to live peacefully in such a world, a person needs the knowledge to protect themselves from the bad ones, as well as an understanding of how to behave so others won't even bother them. That's how he lived a quiet and peaceful life back on Earth. Even with this explanation, Ilias still doesn't understand which version of him is the real one. Is it the one who laughs and chats with her and Maya, or the one who stood up so confidently against those bandits? Shujinku replies that both are the real him, as people act differently in different situations, but they are still the same person underneath. For example, even she behaves differently in front of ordinary citizens compared to how she acts toward criminals. When she tries to object, Shujinku clarifies, saying that in her case, she acted as Ilias the knight in front of both groups. That's very different from him, as he tends to shift his behavior depending on the other party, and that's all there is to it. She then asks, does that mean he will become evil in front of evil people? Shujinku responds that it's not quite like that. As to put it simply, he will become someone who understands evil, rather than someone who becomes it. Hearing this, Ilias falls silent, and then says that she finally understands, remarking that it's just like a wrapped mirror. Shujinku doesn't respond to the comment, while Ilias continues, adding that living peacefully really does sound hard. Later, as Ilias, Maya, and Shujinku go over the information gathered from the bandits, they learn that these bandits are part of a large-scale organization called the Bandit Alliance. The leader of this group is a one-armed man known as Dokola, the mastermind and the user of death spirit magic. Maya then adds that the other intel suggests he was once part of a kingdom's assassination squad, but one day he broke a taboo and ended up on the wanted list. After that, he began committing atrocious acts in a neighboring country called Garn. Eventually, he drifted into the Kingdom of Ties under unclear circumstances. Based on this, Shujinku believes that Dokola rose to his current position by leveraging the skills he gained as an assassin. He suspects that Dokola is the type of person who makes the most of his life experiences. He believes that if he can understand Dokola's patterns, dealing with him shouldn't be too difficult. As he snaps out of his deep thoughts, he notices Ilias looking at him strangely. When he asks what's wrong, she replies with a slightly uncomfortable expression that he looked very evil just now, to which Maya also agrees. Later, as the group walks through a bazaar, Shujinku is amazed by how lively it is. Now that he can finally look around properly, he realizes that the Kingdom of Ties is quite prosperous. Up until now, he had been carried around in a sack by Ilias, so he never got the chance to see it for himself. Judging by the environment, he comments that the king of this kingdom must be a truly capable ruler. Ilias nods affirmatively, explaining that both the current and previous kings governed the kingdom wonderfully because they genuinely care for its citizens. She expresses with a beaming smile how proud and joyful it is to serve this country as one of its loyal knights. Setting that aside, she believes the more the country flourishes, the more merchants will come from other lands, which is a good thing. However, among them, there could be bad people who try to rake in as much profit as possible by any means necessary, which she finds unforgivable. Shujinku agrees, but he points out that the bandit alliance they're facing is quite different and large. It will be very difficult to catch them if they fail this surprise raid. However, Ilias isn't too worried about it, as she plans to summon all of Lord Ragdo's knights. She explains that Lord Ragdo is one of the knight captains who protects the kingdom, and technically she is one of his subordinates. When Shujinku asks how many knights she can call, she replies that she can command around 30 of them, which he thinks is too few for this mission. He then asks that since there are other knight squads, can't she request their cooperation? With a dejected look, she says it's not impossible, but without finishing, she mutters to herself that this isn't the time to worry about her image. Then she declares that she'll appeal for an emergency assembly immediately and ask the other squads to cooperate. He then asks if it's possible to hold the assembly in the barracks. She replies, informing that it is, but asks why, to which he explains that someone like him, who has casually helped her along the way, can't easily enter the castle. Besides, it would be difficult to execute his plan without him being present. Later, Ilias gathers the other night squad leaders and thanks them for coming at such a late hour. She begins to explain that tonight's meeting is to discuss the details of the bandit threat, but before she can continue, she is cut off by Leonard. He states that before moving on, they must first decide who will act as the supreme commander. To determine this, he asks everyone how many knights they can immediately mobilize. One reports 100, another 180, and another 70. Compared to them, Leonard's squad consists of 300 knights, so he asks if anyone objects to him taking command. Hearing this, Shujinku, who stands nearby, is surprised. Although he has heard of Leonard's behavior from Grandpa Kara, he didn't expect him to act so blatantly. As everyone begins to support Leonard while Ilias struggles to speak, Shujinku finds them all narrow-minded men. He is especially irritated by the one who clicks his tongue just as Ilias tries to talk, and silently promises to remember that man's face. Grandpa Kara then suddenly speaks up, saying that this is all thanks to Ilias's hard work, so her opinion should be heard first. Then he calls out to Shujinku to say something to these old fools. Noticing Shujinku, Leonard asks who he is. Grandpa Kara explains that this is the person who provided the critical intelligence behind the operation, so he believes Shujinku has every right to speak his mind. Upon learning that Shujinku is an outsider, Leonard asks if he has a problem with him taking command. Shujinku bluntly replies that he doesn't. In fact, he believes it's logical for the one with the biggest squad to lead. Grandpa Kara is shocked by his statement, but Shujinku continues, saying that since Leonard is going to be the supreme commander, it would be troubling if he doesn't know exactly what they're about to face in this operation. Telling them to take a look, he opens the map where he has marked each bandit base and their movement patterns. He also mentions that he has also prepared a larger map, if needed. While they're at it, Shujinku suggests that they decide each squad's role now. Leonard comments on how prepared Shujinku is, but Shujinku ignores it and asks if Leonard will take charge of the bandits' main base. When Leonard agrees, Shujinku requests to assign the other squads to cover key points. Thinking out loud, Shujinku wonders where to place the Ragdu squad led by Lady Ilias. Unable to decide, he asks the other night squad leaders if anyone is willing to work with her. The room falls silent as no one responds, while Ilias anxiously glances around. Since no one volunteers, Shujinku suggests placing her squad on standby as logistical support along the trade route. This way, if any squad suffers heavy losses, her team can immediately fill the gap. When he asks Leonard if that's acceptable, Leonard agrees, while Ilias is too stunned by the sudden decision to say a word. Later, as they head to their assigned positions, Ilias is visibly irritated, saying that she was a fool to trust him. When Shujinku tries to explain, she cuts him off, saying it doesn't matter. Even if it's logistics, she will fulfill her duty as a knight. Shujinku trembles from exhaustion, wondering why she isn't carrying him this time and instead is walking so fast. Frustrated that he hasn't received any special bonuses as another world traveler, he groans inwardly. Grandpa Kara then apologizes to Ilias for not being much help during the assembly, but he believes everything is going according to Shujinku's plan. He says that if things continue smoothly, they'll gain something even greater. Just as he finishes speaking, a loud thud startles them. They turn to see Shujinku has fainted. Meanwhile, Leonard arrives at the bandits' base with his squad. As the bandits begin to flee at the sight of the knights, Leonard commands his troops to exterminate the fools who dared to underestimate their strength and leave no one alive. He's genuinely surprised by how useful Shujinku's map turned out to be. He thinks back to the assembly and finds Shujinku's behavior admirable, especially how he flattered everyone while quietly assigning Lady Ilias to logistics. Although Leonard finds Shujinku useful, he doesn't hold a favorable opinion of Ilias. While he acknowledges being impressed that she managed to extract information from the bandits, the fact that she gave away sole credit for the achievement makes him laugh. He decides not to hold back and plans to bring all the glory back to his house. But just then, he notices something inside a tent, and as he lifts the cloth, he finds a corpse. Seeing this, a chill runs down his spine, and before he can even finish his thought, the corpse begins to move. He realizes too late that it's the death spirit spell's undead. Meanwhile, a bandit rushes to inform Decola that all their lookouts have been taken out, and they're surrounded. That could only mean one thing: someone betrayed them. Hearing this, Decola scoffs, saying he's surprised there are people so foolish they don't recognize danger. But regardless, it's not like he hasn't planned for this either. As the knights begin dealing with the undead, Leonard wonders what is going on, as this shouldn't be possible. They brought a magic sealing stone with them, so using magic right now should be impossible. Just as he's thinking this, he notices that the undead he slashed isn't collapsing. Seeing this, he realizes how much danger they're truly in. He quickly tells everyone to stay sharp and not die. If they do, they'll become more undead for the rest to fight. He also commands everyone capable of using purifying magic to do everything they can to eliminate the undead. Just as he's giving these orders, he spots Dokola and the other bandits trying to escape. He shouts for someone to catch them, but as he looks around, he sees that everyone is too busy dealing with the undead. Faced with the situation, he realizes that if he pushes his luck too far, there's a real chance some of his knights might turn into undead themselves. He grits his teeth in frustration, as the mere possibility of that is far too dangerous. Meanwhile, as Dokola runs away, he laughs and says the knights are more useful when they are dead than alive. One of the bandits then asks him how he managed this, considering their magic was supposed to be sealed by the stone. Dokola explains that the magic sealing stone disperses any magic within its radius, but what most people don't know is that it doesn't nullify the magic itself, only the composition behind it. That's why it has little effect on the spirit death spell, which is an unusual and highly forbidden form of magic that is said to have once destroyed an entire country. Its greatest strength is that the undead it creates can release a bit of mana to influence surrounding corpses, so it doesn't matter if a sealing stone is present. So long as there are corpses, he can make more undead. All he had to do was hide some undead inside a barrier near his camp. The moment the sealing stone came into contact with the barrier, the effect was dispersed, releasing the undead on the knights. Furthermore, if someone dies close to the undead, they too will rise as one. Thus he warns the bandit not to die on him, to which the bandit twitches in horror and quickly replies affirmatively. In his panic, he accidentally drops the sack he's carrying. Dokola snarls at him, telling him to be careful with that, as it's his precious treasure. Setting that aside, Dokola giggles and says he should thank those stupid knights, as with them busy fighting his pawns, he doesn't have to leave anything behind. Then suddenly, a voice echoes nearby, someone saying it doesn't bring them the slightest joy to be thanked by villainous scum like him. That person turns out to be Ilias, who stands on higher ground and has been listening to the bandits' conversation. She then introduces herself and declares that his evil ends today. As Ilias and the other knights descend, Dokola is completely shocked, not expecting anyone to find this place. But still he is certain about one thing and asks Ilias if it was really her who discovered their escape path. When Ilias confirms it was her, Dokola bursts out laughing and calls it nonsense, demanding to know if she really thinks he's that much of a fool. He believes that there is no way in hell a straight-laced knight like her would use her comrades as bait just to secure an escape path for herself like this. So he asks her if that person is here as well, and clarifies that he isn't talking about a prideful knight like her. He's talking about the kind of guy who knows how to live like scum, like him. Just then, Shujinku jumps down from the higher ledge and tells Grandpa Kara that he's leaving the rest to him. Grandpa Kara nods and tells him to be careful. When Ilias tries to stop Shujinku, he gestures for her not to. Dokola then asks if it was him and comments that he doesn't look like a fighter. Shujinku admits that it was him, and says he really is the weakest one among everyone here. Dokola starts by asking how he managed to find the cave, to which Shujinku replies that he just stumbled upon it by accident when he got lost in the mountain. Hearing this, Dokola bursts out laughing and moves on to his second question. How did he make the bandits talk? Shujinku explains that he told them he would postpone their execution until he dealt with the Death Spirit spellcaster, but only for the first 3 people. Dokola is surprised and asks if he should have told them that the spell works even on the living. Shujinku shrugs and says that, although he could have said that, there's only so far he can get with pure bluffing. Dokola moves on to his final question, asking what kind of sorcery did he use to track them to this place. Shujinku responds coldly, saying it was all just a matter of comprehension, hearing which Dokola grins, saying he gets it now. Shujinku had already expected Dokola to try escaping in the middle of the battle, considering how cunning Dokola was in dealing with the knights. Preparing 1 or 2 escape routes near his camp wasn't surprising. What sealed it for Shujinku was when the knights returned to the cave a day after raiding it. They couldn't find any corpses. That left one question. Had Dokola pitied them and buried them properly? No way. A scumbag like him wouldn't have the heart for that. So what did he do with the bodies? Obviously, he saved them for a time like this. Seeing the cold, empty look in Shujinku's eyes, devoid of care, feeling, or empathy, Dokola giggles and asks who he really is, and if he's sure he's not standing on the wrong side. Shujinku tells him it's rude to say that to a normal peace-loving citizen. But Dokola doesn't believe him. A normal peace-loving citizen could never understand the way a scum thinks. So if a guy like him can call himself normal, what's left for a real villain to be? Shujinku replies, saying that it doesn't matter to them, as a real villain would do anything, even the unimaginable, to achieve what they want. Hearing this, Dokola laughs at this and asks if he's serious. He analyzes Shujinku's appearance, and despite the black hair and eyes, Dokola believes this guy doesn't belong to any clan he's familiar with. Then suddenly, everything clicks. He finally realizes who Shujinku really is. A grin spreads across his face as he asks Shujinku if he is someone from Earth. As Shujinku reacts in shock, Dokola immediately notices his expression and realizes he was right. Surprised that such a place truly exists, Dokola expresses his astonishment. Shujinku's heart races as he demands to know how Dokola knows about Earth. In response, Dokola bursts into laughter, explaining that of course he knows. His life was ruined by the death spirit spell. It's only natural for him to be aware of the force that triggered this world's dark age. Revive magic. He reveals that Earth, the accursed parallel world, is the origin of these taboos. This revelation leaves Shujinku utterly stunned, wondering what it all means. Was revive magic really created by someone from Earth? He quickly turns to Ilias, but her confused expression makes it clear she also has no knowledge of this. It's unlikely Dokola is lying, as he gains nothing from doing so. And he clearly knows the name Earth. If he truly holds vital information, it would be a problem if Ilias were to kill him now. Shujinku cautiously asks if Dokola knows anything more. Dokola admits that even he couldn't uncover much beyond this, despite being granted the death spirit spell by those behind it. He advises Shujinku to search for the truth himself if he's truly curious, claiming there are enough clues to begin with. Feeling satisfied after witnessing something worthwhile, Dokola then silently pulls out a dagger, and after thanking Shujinku, he suddenly throws it toward him. Fortunately, Ilias manages to parry it, only to realize Dokola had thrown 2 knives at once. Shujinku is impressed by her reflexes and finds her very dependable. Ilias then sternly tells him not to move, warning that protecting him will become difficult otherwise, as Shujinku responds affirmatively. Dokola commands his bandit group to eliminate them, reminding them that anyone who dies will immediately rise as undead, so they better not even consider dying. Without hesitation, Ilias closes the distance and attacks Dokola, but he was able to block her strike with ease, remarking on her strength, and admitting that even in the kingdom of Garn, he has likely never seen someone of her caliber. Ilias responds that she has no reason to humor him. He retorts, asking her not to be such a mood killer and to enjoy the moment a bit. With a sigh, he mocks her as a boring woman, claiming even sleeping with Shujinku would be more fun, prompting Shujinku to shout at him not to even dare. Setting the insult aside, Dokola now realizes how a woman like her ever became a knight, as he is certain that she will break his arm with just a few more strikes. Realizing he's running out of options, he decides to use his trump card now. He then tosses a knife into the air, which begins to emit a dark aura. Seeing this, Ilias urgently orders the knights to protect Shujinku with a barrier. Before the aura can reach him, one knight quickly casts protective magic on him, while Ilias warns them all that this is the death spirit spell. Dokola compliments her swift decision, but reminds her that these enemies aren't just weak pawns. They are his loyal servants, willing to carry out any order he gives them. Just then, a giant undead charges at Ilias, growling menacingly as it swings its sword. She easily blocks the attack, shattering the undead sword in the process, but then quickly realizes that this is the same giant she once defeated in the bandit's cave. From her surprised expression, Dokola can tell what she's thinking and confirms that she's right. This undead was indeed a valuable asset, but more importantly, it appears that this undead holds a grudge against her. Setting that aside, based on what he observes, it appears they didn't bring any baptized holy water. To make matters worse, he informs Ilias that since the entire area is shrouded in the death spirit spell, the undead will continue attacking even if their master is killed. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Ilias calmly responds that if that's the case, she simply needs to deal with the vile mana polluting the area first. Just then, she commands all units to jump, and they instantly leap into the air. One of them carries Shujinku, who is terrified by how high they are. Meanwhile, Dokola pulls out a handful of magic sealing stones from his pocket and tells Ilias that it's too bad for her. He won't even give her the chance to use magic. As he throws the stones at her, Ilias prepares to attack and responds with a sarcastic apology, saying she's sorry to disappoint him, but she has no intention of using magic. She then performs a spinning 360-degree slash, obliterating all of the surrounding undead in an instant. Even the thick mana is blown away, and nearby trees are sliced cleanly. Dokola narrowly escapes by leaping back just in time. He's really impressed, as not only did she wipe out all the undead in a single strike, but she also dispersed the deathly mana lingering in the area. Ilias then challenges him to try whatever tricks he has left. Accepting the provocation, Dokola reaches into his pocket once more. He says that since she asked, he has no choice but to use it, surprising Shujinku, who wonders if Dokola still has something up his sleeve. But when Dokola tosses the item at Ilias, it turns out to be just a smoke bomb. Realizing his intention, Ilias questions whether he's seriously trying to run away like a coward. Dokola admits he is. However, as he attempts to flee, a spear suddenly flies through the smoke and pierces both of his legs, dropping him to the ground. Instead of crying out in pain, he looks shocked, wondering where the spear came from. Despite losing his legs, his smile hasn't disappeared as he taunts Ilias, asking if a proud knight like her feels no shame in using such underhanded tricks. Shujinku then steps forward and clarifies that it was his idea, and that Ilias knows nothing about it. Hearing this, Dokola asks him if he has also anticipated this moment from the beginning. Shujinku replies that it was obvious. Since Dokola tried to escape once, he would definitely try again. Dokola praises Shujinku's timing, calling it perfect. Shujinku responds saying that it had to be, as they planned everything precisely to make Dokola believe he had the perfect opportunity to escape. Everything unfolds according to Shujinku's plan. He hasn't lied about Ilias's role either. The only person he informed about the trap was Grandpa Kara. As for the timing, it was simple. Dokola always tries to run whenever he finds fault in someone or senses an opportunity. That's how confident he is in his ability to escape. All Shujinku had to do was exploit that confidence and strike at the right moment. Dokola acknowledges the clever trap and admits that being tricked by someone like Shujinku somehow makes him happy. As Shujinku asks if that's really what he thinks, Dokola confidently states that under different circumstances, they could have even become good friends. Shujinku agrees, believing that might have been the case, but adds that he dislikes people who are comfortable with killing others. Hearing this, Dokola laughs, claiming that someone like him would get used to it in no time. Shujinku responds that if that's the case, then he must be extra careful not to stray from his chosen path. Dokola nods and tells him that it's good to think that way, advising him not to end up like he did. He then mentions that among his belongings is a map with a location marked, a hidden base that only he knows about. He suggests Shujinku seek it out, calling it his farewell gift. Shujinku is surprised that Dokola can still smile at a moment like this. As Ilias raises her sword to execute Dokola, the man makes a final request, asking Shujinku for his name. Shujinku replies and tells him, though his name is not revealed to the readers. Just then, Ilias brings her sword down, decapitating Dokola, whose head falls with a smile still on his face. Later, as the knights clean up the bodies, Ilias turns to Shujinku and asks if he has nothing to say. As he gives her a puzzled look, she explains that since Dokola seemed to know about his original world, didn't he want to learn more? Shujinku responds that it couldn't be helped, as Dokola's fate was sealed, which is probably why he said those final words. He also doubts that Dokola knew anything more, though he admits he did want to find out. But it's too late now. Hearing this, Ilias clenches her fist and demands to know what he means by it can't be helped. Shujinku answers that he assumed she executed Dokola on the spot to prevent any chance of escape. She argues that there was no way a man with both legs gone could flee, and if she truly wanted to prevent it, she could have just removed his remaining limbs. Shujinku agrees but adds that she did nothing wrong, unlike him, who tricked everyone to orchestrate the ambush. Ilias disagrees, saying that his plan was the right one, even if she didn't like it. Shujinku replies that he feels the same about her decision to kill Dokola. He sighs and offers to ask her directly why she did it, if that would help her come to terms with it. She apologizes and admits that she was afraid, but more than that, she was disgusted. Ever since hearing about Dokola from Maya, she felt that he was slowly developing a similar presence. When he began talking with Dokola, that feeling only grew stronger. She feared that, at this rate, he might end up like Dokola. And in that moment, she couldn't stop herself from swinging her sword. Now that he thinks about it, he acknowledges that back then, it did feel like they truly understood each other, despite the fact that he was a cold-blooded killer. He then asks Ilias if it's really such a problem, considering she acted because she couldn't stand to see someone lose in front of her like that, which he finds really admirable. However, Ilias disagrees, insisting that drawing her sword on a mere whim is unforgivable. Before she can say anything more, Shujinku interrupts, saying that what she did is still admirable, because she chose to act, and more importantly, she is able to reflect on her actions. He believes that alone is worthy of respect. Upon hearing this, she scoffs and asks why he's speaking to her like she's a child. Shujinku replies that it's only natural. After all, he is older than her. Hearing this, she is shocked, while he also becomes visibly confused and asks her how old she is. She replies that she's 18, which, by her reasoning, should make her older than him. However, Shujinku calmly informs her that he is still older. When she asks him his age, he whispers it to her, though the number is not revealed to the readers. Whatever it is, it shocks her so much that she immediately asks if he has elven blood in him or something. Shujinku quickly clarifies that his ancestors were 100% human. Still shocked hearing the number, Ilias clutches her head and mutters that she genuinely thought he was only 16. Shujinku realizes that this must be why she thought it was acceptable to carry him around in a sack. She then hurriedly apologizes, but he waves it off, telling her not to get all formal with him now. As she tries to argue further, Shujinku stops her, saying it's fine, as he just has to act according to his age from now on. He then asks if this resolution is good enough for her, to which she replies with a quiet yes. After that, they clean up the rest of the aftermath in awkward silence and begin heading back to town. In the end, the knights successfully annihilate the remaining enemy bases without any trouble, thanks largely to the cleric's squad led by Maya, who arrived as reinforcements to deal with the undead. Although many were injured, fortunately, no one in Lord Leaner's squad lost their life. This stands as a testament to his exceptional leadership. Though if only he were as considerate toward Ilias, he could have been an even greater asset. As they move on, it becomes apparent that Dokala's head will be displayed publicly on a gibbet. But setting that aside, two critical revelations from today weigh heavily on Shujinku's mind. First, that there are people in this world who know about Earth. And second, is that individuals from Earth are the ones who originally created the taboo. This hidden truth makes it painfully clear to him that his journey toward a peaceful life in this world is going to take a long time. Meanwhile, deep within the mountain ranges of the Tai's kingdom, in a remote forest, a tattered tent stands quietly. From within it, a beast girl wearing ragged clothing steps out.